This story is based on an actual first-person account and contains dramatizations. A family plagued by unexplained events. In a home rumored to have a dark past. Full of tragic suicides. And stories of sinister witchcraft.
Get out!
A plot from a Hollywood horror film? This is one family's actual account.
Some paranormal experts believe you put 5 young girls in a house like this, it's a perfect recipe for a haunting.
These are the events that inspired the movie, The Conjuring. It's a terrifying tale, but is it true? Find out. Behind the Screams. In 2007, Andrea Perrin chronicled her family's strange experiences living in a nearly 300-year-old rural farmhouse. The 3-volume memoir, House of Darkness, House of Light, is a tale many find hard to believe. But the events went on to inspire the blockbuster horror film, The Conjuring. This is the Perrin family's actual story. Suburban Rhode Island. Many of the families in this small, historic state on the East Coast have lived here for generations. But in the rural town of Burlville, one old farmhouse has new blood.
All right, guys, watch out.
Roger and Carolyn Perrin think the old Arnold house is the perfect place to raise their 5 daughters. Far away from crowded cities and suburbs.
Mom, Dad, come quick, we have to see it.
Is it huge? Be careful, you guys.
It's bigger than huge. What?
The young girls are excited to move into their new home. They anxiously grab boxes and carry them inside. That's when 9-year-old Nancy thinks she notices something very strange. In the living room, she sees a man she doesn't recognize. She has no idea who he is, but she senses he doesn't belong there.
Children can have a very keen sense of intuition. They're not stuck in their heads the way that adults are, which may make them more spiritually attuned.
Suddenly, one of her sisters bumps into her, distracting her for just a moment. And as she turns back to greet the man, he's gone. How could he have walked past her so quickly? It's as though he simply vanished. Could he have been a friend of the former homeowner who'd stopped by? Or a neighbor? She quickly leaves the moment behind. For now.
As far as the family knew, there's nothing strange about this house. Nothing was disclosed about any murders, suicides, or anything of that nature.
Sis, wake up, wake up. Sis, wake up.
That night, the oldest of the Perrin girls, Andrea, is awakened by her sister, Cindy.
What's going on, Cindy? I'm scared.
Andrea does her best to calm her sister. Cindy says something inside her room is keeping her awake.
What happened? I was hearing voices in my room.
Do you want to sleep with me tonight?
Yes, please.
Andrea is sort of like the mother hen to her sisters. They confide in her. They tell her things that they don't even tell their own mother. And she wants to show her sisters that she's very understanding and sympathetic to them. But also there are some things that are a little too difficult to comprehend.
According to her memoir, Andrea Perrin doesn't know what to think of the strange story.
This would be a tough position for Andrea to be in because she's always been there for her sister and she wants to be here for her now. She wants to give her the benefit of the doubt. But also instinctively, her mind's going to try to find a more logical, rational explanation. Because if it doesn't, then that leaves the door wide open for all sorts of other answers that are kind of scary.
The only explanation she can imagine is that young Cindy must have heard one of their other sisters talking in her sleep.
People in the paranormal community say that children are more sensitive to the presence of ghosts and spirits. But if you're not in the paranormal community, you just might think kids say the darndest things.
But over the following weeks,
I'll sit here. Can we talk to you?
Yeah, what's up?
Andrea's younger sisters confide in her about more odd sights and sounds.
You tell her. When Mom called us in for lunch the other day.
Cindy, time for lunch.
Coming.
Cindy claims after cleaning up her toys, they moved around the room with no one there.
And the blocks were like in stacks.
And the pantry door won't stay closed, as if something refuses to let it shut.
It's almost like they were.
Even worse, Cindy says that in her room at night, she feels someone is visiting her. At first, she thought it was her mother, coming to kiss her goodnight. But her mother always smells like ivory soap. The person she says has been hovering over her bed each night smells like fruit and flowers. Cindy's been too scared to open her eyes to see who it is.
Here we have a child who's very afraid. So the more she tries to push the thought away, the more she has to think about it, and the more fearful she becomes.
And then
Andrea's unnerved by her sister's stories. Their new home is getting stranger and stranger.
Don't worry, okay?
She tells her sisters to ignore these things, hoping they'll go away.
They had no point of reference to base their experiences on. And when you don't understand things, sometimes you just try to push them away. You have to remember that Andrea was only 12 years old, and her sisters were younger. And being a 12-year-old in 1970 was a lot different than being a 12-year-old now. Ghosts weren't such a hot topic in that culture.
Around the same time, as would later be written in her daughter Andrea's memoir, Carolyn Perrin begins experiencing things that she can't explain. One day, while her daughters are in school, she inspects the old barn on her family's property.
People in the paranormal community believe that when you enter an old place for the first time, it's best to proceed with caution because there may be leftover residual energy from the people who inhabited before, and we don't know if that energy is positive or negative.
She suddenly hears a strange noise above her, and she sees a scythe floating above her head in mid-air. Carolyn's frozen in fear. The blade flies down, slicing through her clothes. She slowly regains her composure and tries to figure out what happened. Where did the lethal object come from? And why did the scythe suddenly fall at the exact moment when she was standing below it?
Accidents happen. We never know when something's going to happen. But when we're talking about a huge coincidence, something that almost seems planned, people in the paranormal community think that that possibly could be a sign. Maybe something from beyond is trying to reach out, communicate, make something happen.
Carolyn scans the barn, but sees nothing that could have caused the scythe to fall. She feels that somehow, something attacked her.
The logical part of the mind is always looking for rational answers, especially when something strange happens. It needs to find an answer to be able to function. But when the scientific mind can't find a logical answer, some people might start to look beyond logic, and that's when those supernatural thoughts start creeping in.
With no rational explanation for what happened, Carolyn Perron decides to keep this bizarre experience to herself. She knows no one will believe her, and she doesn't want to scare her daughters.
This must be very difficult for Carolyn, because as humans, especially females, we naturally want to share our experiences. That's how we release negative energy built up. But she knows that if she shares her experiences, her traumatic experiences, that she could possibly scare her family. So she has to keep all these feelings bottled up, which must feel pretty isolating.
But as the weeks pass, Carolyn becomes more and more uncomfortable in her new home. She feels an oppressive coldness following her everywhere she goes. No matter what she does, she can't get warm.
Cold spots are common in hauntings. They're areas where the temperature has dropped 5 to 10 degrees. And people in the paranormal community believe that this signifies that the entity is trying to gain strength, gain energy from the space around it to manifest itself.
One day, she decides to clear out an old chimney that's been sealed off by the previous owner. She hopes an additional working fireplace will help get rid of her constant chill. After clearing the chimney, Carolyn's relieved, even relaxed. Ever since the incident in the barn, she's felt anxious and vulnerable. Taking action has renewed her sense of control.
It's natural to feel out of control when you're dealing with something supernatural, because you really have no control of it. You can't see when it's coming, you can't see when it's there. There's not much you can do about it. So you may try to take more control of your environment, which may actually work against you. People in the paranormal community believe that you may disrupt that entity or whatever is disturbing you even more, and therefore they may retaliate.
She decides to take a shower in hopes she can wash away her fears. Feeling refreshed, she hopes the strange occurrences are now behind her. And then something hits her from behind. It's a wooden coat hanger, and it strikes her again and again. All she can do is scream for help. As the incident is described in her memoir, Andrea runs to her mother's aid.
Mom?
Her mother's being physically assaulted by a floating coat hanger, wielded by an invisible force. Suddenly, the weapon falls to the floor.
Mom?
In shock, Andrea tries to comfort her mother.
Oh my God.
For a child to witness their parent being attacked would create a real sense of powerlessness, which is what children already feel on a daily basis. And now you take it to a whole new level.
Goodness, let's see. Oh, look. Looks like they're getting...
That night, Carolyn Perron keeps her 5 daughters close.
And there's fire.
She's starting to think their house is indeed haunted, and she doesn't know how she will keep her daughters safe.
It's tough feeling vulnerable to something you can't see or control. It puts you constantly on edge, and eventually it's going to wear you down.
But she puts on a brave face and pretends everything is fine.
Moms are naturally wired to protect their young, to keep them safe at all costs. And this often means that mothers have to take on the weight of the world so their children can be shielded.
The last thing Carolyn wants to do is frighten her children. Still, she has to tell someone what's happened.
At this point, Carolyn believes she's been attacked twice. Once in the barn and once in the house. Now this must be a very scary and traumatic experience for her, but she still has to go against her natural instinct to tell somebody about it. She doesn't want to scare her family, so she has to isolate it, keep it bottled up inside, which only elevates her stress.
So how are things going?
They're going well.
Kids doing okay at school?
Yeah.
Later that week, when her husband Roger returns home from a business trip, his wife is hesitant to tell him about the terrifying incident.
While some people do believe in spirits, most people don't. So it's very difficult for the paranormal witness to try to tell somebody about their experience because they don't want to seem like they're crazy or that they're going mad, especially if the person that they're telling really does not believe in the paranormal.
There's something I've been wanting to tell you about. It happened the other night.
Knowing that Roger isn't a believer in the supernatural, Carolyn fears he won't listen to her.
Look, I know this is gonna sound crazy.
But she can't keep this a secret.
It was like a presence was in the room.
What do you mean a presence?
Carolyn struggles to get the words out. She knows how unbelievable the story will sound to her husband. She can hardly believe it herself.
It was like a ghost.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Roger's reaction is exactly what she expected.
There's no such thing as ghosts.
He insists there must be a logical explanation.
I don't know anybody who is as busy as you are. 5 kids, you're here most of the time by yourself. You know, look, you're probably just tired.
Carolyn realizes she's on her own. She decides not to mention ghosts to her husband ever again. Whatever happened, she must figure out how to solve it by herself.
Believers versus non-believers. Neither one of them have an open mind. The believer believes the unknown is a ghost, and the non-believer refuses to accept the possibility that this could be something supernatural. Both are gonna butt heads, and there's no way to bridge that gap. This can play hell on a relationship because there is no trust or understanding.
Frazzled and alone in her plight, Carolyn Perron's determined to understand what is happening in her home. She researches the history of the property. Could it, in fact, be haunted by someone who once lived or died there? She discovers her house was built by the Richardson family in the 1730s, 40 years before the American Revolution. In 1792, new owners, the Arnold family, took over and remained there through the Civil War. Not understanding what is happening around her, Carolyn wonders, is it possible one of their spirits is trapped here in the house?
Some paranormal researchers believe that ghosts are earthbound spirits that just can't let go of something. They have unfinished business, or they don't even know that they're dead.
But while she hunts for answers, she fears that someone or something is hunting her. According to her daughter Andrea Perron's memoir, one night Carolyn hears the sound of footsteps in her bedroom. Maybe it's one of her daughters unable to sleep.
Cindy?
But when she opens her eyes, she believes she sees a horrifying ghost.
Get out!
Her vision is a corpse-like old woman staring down at her ominously. She's so terrified, she can't even scream. She feels like she's staring into the face of death. Then, as suddenly as the vision appeared, it's gone. Carolyn's horrifying encounters are becoming more and more extreme.
Even though someone has been attacked by a spirit, it still has the same psychological effects as if they are attacked by a real person.
Carolyn carefully draws a sketch of the woman she saw. She records every detail she can remember. A green handmade dress with a belt cinched at the waist, skin like a hornet's nest, hair like straw, and a hideous, broken neck.
Carolyn is essentially doing what police do during an investigation. She's making a composite sketch of her assailant. She's trying to put down all the details so she can identify what this mysterious spirit is.
Later that same night, Carolyn's daughter Andrea wakes up from a terrible nightmare. Searching for her mother, she discovers Carolyn's sketch and gasps in utter disbelief.
Mom.
Andrea Perrin immediately wakes her mother
I saw the lady too. She was in my
and
dream.
reveals that she just saw the same ghost in a dream.
It's not just me. Mom, she wants to hurt you.
Undoubtedly, there is some relief from this confirmation. You're not crazy, and you're not alone. But there is a new layer of fear. If this is real, if this woman appeared to your daughter, what does she want, and what is she capable of?
As she wrote in her memoir, Andrea didn't know what to believe before, but now she's convinced something supernatural is happening in her family's home.
Come on.
Up until this point, Andrea has been a non-believer in the paranormal.
Cindy, wake up. Mom, wake up, Nancy.
Nancy, sweet, come here.
Cindy, wake up.
in here.
She's heard these stories from her sisters, and although she's been sympathetic to her sisters, she wasn't quite sure if she believed what they were telling her. But now, because she's had her own experience, she believes that her house may possibly be haunted.
Nancy, you need to tell Mom the things you've been saying, okay?
Andrea leads Carolyn to her sister's room.
Nancy, I need you to tell Mom, okay?
She urges them to tell their mother about the strange things they said they've experienced.
Please.
Well, it started the day we moved in. His name is Manny.
9-year-old Nancy tells her about a male spirit that she calls Manny. She saw him the day they moved in and has seen him many times since. She's not scared of him. She believes Manny is watching over her.
Well, I have a new friend.
Then, 8-year-old Cindy tells about a woman who enters her bedroom at night and kisses her on the forehead.
I sort of see him out of the corner of my eye a lot.
You guys aren't scared?
No.
While they were initially scared of these spirits, now they believe these ghosts really care for them. No matter what her daughters say, Carolyn is very concerned. They claim to be encountering friendly spirits, but what she's been experiencing feels extremely threatening. She wants to protect them and can think of only one way.
I think we have to move.
No. This is what makes the house special.
Many paranormal experts believe that ghosts give off their own energies, whether that's a positive energy or a negative energy. And as of now, these girls find these ghosts to be peaceful. They're not afraid of them. They almost get a protective feeling from them.
Still, Carolyn Perrin is desperate to get control of the situation. She makes a decision. If her family's going to stay in this house, she needs to know more about the town's history. She digs deeper into town records, searching for the possible identities of their late-night visitors.
Some believe that hauntings are caused by traumatic events that happened in the past. If someone died suddenly or from violence, they could become stuck in that place that they died. That's why most paranormal investigators will start with the history of a place to see what happened there.
Carolyn begins with the history of one family that lived in the home for 8 generations, the Arnolds. And what she finds is very disturbing. According to town records, between the mid-1800s and the early 1900s, at least 5 different members of the Arnold family suffered terrible, unnatural deaths, including tragic suicides.
People in the paranormal community feel that how a person dies may actually affect their crossing over to the other side. If someone commits suicide, there may be so much sadness, so much anger, pain, heavy pain, that it might actually anchor that energy to the earth, so they're not able to cross over.
Carolyn is particularly intrigued by two of them. John Allen Arnold grew up in their home. As an adult, he suffered from persistent health problems. His troubles gradually wore down his will to live. At the age of 57, his despair finally consumed him. He swallowed a lethal amount of Paris green, a poison used to kill rodents. His death was slow and painful. Carolyn wonders, did John Allen Arnold return to his childhood home after he died? Could the house be a kind of emotional refuge? And was he the man that Nancy saw in the dining room the day they moved in?
Most people automatically believe that ghosts haunt the places they died in, but that isn't necessarily so. If a person can move around in life, what keeps them from moving around in death? So it makes sense that John Arnold would revisit the place where he grew up in and possibly befriend one of the girls there.
Then, Carolyn learns about a woman known only as Mrs. John Arnold. She died at the age of 93. Rumor has it, after such a long life, she couldn't bear to live any longer. The old woman hanged herself in the Arnold family barn, in the exact spot where Carolyn was slashed by a falling scythe.
Nobody wants to discover that not only one, but two suicides happened on their property. Now you pair that with all these violent acts that have occurred, these weird coincidences. It can make you feel pretty uncomfortable living in your own home.
Carolyn's terrified that Mrs. John Arnold could be the spirit that she believes appeared to her, the hideous ghost with the broken neck. And if so, what could this apparition want from her family? According to eldest daughter Andrea Perron's memoir, just as Carolyn Perrin begins to unravel the mysteries of the old Arnold house, things take a turn for the worse. One night, Carolyn wakes with a start. Then she swears she sees 8 threatening spirits in her room. Carolyn watches, again paralyzed with fear, as a familiar tormentor emerges from the group, the old woman. But this time, she's here to deliver a warning.
Get out! I was mistress here before you came, and I will be mistress here again.
Carolyn cowers down and prays for mercy. She's certain this is the end. Then, the frightening vision fades as suddenly as it appeared. But to Carolyn, the message is clear. She's certain the ghost she's seen wants her gone. The constant torment is more than she can bear.
How do you process something like this with a rational mind? Was she suffering from the effects of PTSD or some other mental disorder? It's overwhelming.
Afraid she might be losing her mind, Carolyn goes to see her doctor. And after a thorough examination, the doctor tells her she shows no signs of any psychosis. A psychiatric evaluation is not recommended.
It must be a huge relief for Carolyn to get a clean bill of health from her doctor. This means she's not mentally losing it. And she can't mentally lose it. She's the mother of these 5 girls. She's running a household. But if she's not losing her mind, then what exactly is going on? What's going on in her house?
New news of the Perron family's terrifying struggle reaches two of the most famous paranormal investigators, the Warrens. Ed Warren is a self-described demonologist. His wife, Lorraine, claims to have psychic abilities. Together, they investigate hauntings and possessions across the country.
The Warrens were gaining a lot of popularity for their work in the paranormal. It was a few years before the investigation of Amityville, but they had just finished an investigation at West Point Academy that gained them a lot of attention.
Warren residence.
When an acquaintance of the Perron family approaches the Warrens to enlist their aid,
I think that's very possible.
Lorraine senses this is a true supernatural terror.
I think there's a house we need to visit.
The Warrens take a trip to the old Arnold house. They know only what they've heard. The mother, Carolyn Perrin, says the house is haunted and a family with 5 young girls might be at risk. The first thing they have to do is separate rumor from reality.
Paranormal researchers are going to ask a lot of questions, just like any good investigators would. They want to be able to count out any environmental explanations, physical explanations, or mental explanations before they jump to a paranormal conclusion.
While the girls are asleep, the Warrens interview Carolyn.
You've heard about the different troubles we've had around here. Someone's
Yes,
apparently.
but we'd like to hear from you exactly what's been happening and how it's affecting your family.
She tells them about the horrifying specter she's seen in her bedroom, about the physical attack she endured,
This horrible demonic voice.
and the warning to go away. The Warrens don't question her sincerity, but they tell her that they have their own techniques for diagnosing a haunting.
Do you mind if we have a tour of the house? No, please.
The Warrens want to see if Lorraine psychically senses the presence of restless spirits.
People with psychic abilities detect spirits in many ways. Some have described it as like standing next to an electric wire, where you're feeling that energy, that buzz. Others have described it as just having a conversation with a person, just like how you and I would speak. Others have described it as hearing voices, or having feelings that they know that are coming from beyond, that are unearthly. So Lorraine, to get a feeling of this house, has to do a walk around, has to see what she feels.
And this is the pantry.
And as soon as she opens the door to the pantry, she's overwhelmed by a foul odor.
Something terrible has happened here.
Lorraine's words ring true to Carolyn.
You know, the girls actually said that they can't keep this door closed.
Her daughters told her they've seen the pantry door open entirely by itself. In fact, they can't keep it shut.
It's like something's trying to get out.
They wonder what could possibly cause this phenomenon. But whatever it is, they find it very disturbing.
If a house is being haunted, it's not unusual for things to be moved around, for doors to open and close on their own, for there to be phantom smells. Because if an entity is trying to make contact with the homeowners, it will do so by any means possible.
And when Lorraine enters the kitchen, she tells Carolyn she's had another terrifying vision.
There's a presence here, and it's demonic.
Next, she reveals that a name is flooding her mind, and she thinks it may be the key to everything.
Have you ever heard the name Bathsheba?
Carolyn Perrin instantly recognizes the strange moniker from her research into the town's history.
I've been doing research.
She tells Lorraine that she learned about someone named Bathsheba Sherman, who lived on a nearby farm. Bathsheba was described as a spiteful woman. The recorded facts of Bathsheba's life are brief. Born in the early 1800s, she grew up here in Burlville. But there's more that the town records don't show. According to a local historian, Bathsheba Sherman was rumored to be a murderer. In her younger years, an infant she cared for was found dead, with a knitting needle embedded in the base of its skull. An investigation cleared Bathsheba's name, but she was already convicted in the court of public opinion. The historian told her that many in the town of Burlville believed she was actually a witch who'd sacrificed the child for Satan.
A local historian writing in 1856 noted there were a few spiritualism circles in the town at that time. The more orthodox people believed that was the work of the devil. This is almost 150 years after the Salem witch trials, so there weren't any formal accusations of witchcraft. That being said, there probably were some people in that town who still believed in witches.
Historical records show no proof of Bathsheba's knitting needle murder, but Carolyn Perrin now sees a connection to another unexplainable assault she claims happened recently.
I was upstairs and I was sitting at my desk and I felt something like a sting.
At first, she thought she'd been stung by some kind of insect, but there was way too much blood. The wound was small and circular, going deep into the muscle tissue. She says it was as if she had been stabbed by a long, thin object, something like a knitting needle. Carolyn had no explanation for the bizarre injury until now.
I believe it's Bathsheba haunting this house.
At this point, all the pieces are coming together, which must be a huge relief for Carolyn. Although, as she gets closer to the truth, it can become more scary as she finds out who or what she's dealing with.
Lorraine Warren is now convinced that out of all of the spirits the Perrons claim to have witnessed, Bathsheba is the most dangerous. The psychic says that she believes Bathsheba must have carried her murder weapon into the afterlife and used it to attack Carolyn. What the psychic can't explain is why Bathsheba chose this house to haunt. Town records say she died in her own home at the age of 73 and was supposedly buried alongside her husband and children in the town cemetery. Carolyn reveals something else the historian told her about Bathsheba, something that now terrifies her.
It's rumored that she wasn't buried with her family.
Rumor has it, she was secretly buried somewhere else. Bathsheba Sherman's final resting place could be right below this very house. For Ed and Lorraine, believers in the supernatural, it's a worst-case scenario.
We can only imagine what Carolyn must be feeling at this time. Her and her family moved out into this old farmhouse to find some peace and quiet. And now they're having all of these unexplainable events, these violent acts. And then she just recently discovered that there may be a demon now living in her house. She must be at her tipping point.
Carolyn, there are 3 stages.
Ed Warren explains his view that the disturbances in the Perron family home are classic examples of what he calls demonic haunting. He tells her the first stage is infestation. In this stage, an entity captures the attention of the living by generating sounds, causing objects to move, or manifesting in the visible form.
Hearing Ed's list must be sending chills through Carolyn. He's listing off everything that she's experienced. And the way he's making it sound is that it could possibly get worse.
Then, he explains the next stage is oppression. The entity wages a psychological assault.
Get out!
Intended to break a person's will to live. When that happens, the victim enters the third stage. Demonic possession.
Demonologist is said to recognize forces of good and evil in the everyday world. Ed and Lorraine saw it as their duty to protect this family from true evil.
After several hours, the Warrens leave the Perrons' home, but they promise to return. Meanwhile, over the next few months, Andrea Perron witnesses her mother, Carolyn, rapidly losing weight and sleeping long hours. In fact, she seems to be losing touch with reality altogether.
The theories in the paranormal are based on the thought that ghosts are energy, and energy attracts other energy. So if a spirit or a ghost is drawing the energy from a living person, that person is going to get weaker and weaker.
Paranormal believers would think that this is a very dangerous state for Carolyn to be in. In this weakened state, it leaves her open for possible demonic possession.
As promised, late one night, the Warrens return to the old Arnold house. And this time, they've brought help. They introduce her as a psychic medium named Mary.
It makes sense why Ed and Lorraine would bring another psychic to the seance, because they don't know what they're dealing with. They don't know how powerful it is, and there's always strength in numbers.
Roger Perrin brings the paranormal team to his wife Carolyn's side. They can see that Carolyn's turned pale and lifeless, like a ghost. The Warrens think Carolyn Perrin may already be possessed by a demon.
Roger, we know what we're talking about. Please.
We understand this is strange.
Ed tells Roger there's no time to lose. The Warrens believe the only way to draw the demon out into the open and expel it is through a spiritual ceremony called a seance.
Seance? What kind of hokey new age stuff is this?
Seances have been around for centuries. Participants attend them with the hopes of contacting a spirit using a medium as a conduit. The main purpose is communication.
Carolyn's husband, Roger, is not a believer. But what if what the Warrens are saying could be true? He fears the risks to Carolyn could be enormous.
Carolyn has already been through so many traumatic events in her home. And seances can be very dangerous. Things can be thrown. You can invite something in more powerful, more angry. If the psychic doesn't know how to deal with the entity, it can make matters worse. Although on the other hand, if Carolyn is already possessed, this may be the only way to release her from possession.
She just needs more sleep. She hasn't been getting enough sleep.
Although Roger refuses to believe the Warrens' supernatural explanation,
we don't have time. We need to do this now.
He's so concerned for his frail wife, he's willing to try anything. He reluctantly agrees.
Let's all gather around the table.
With the young girls watching secretly from upstairs, Lorraine Warren turns off the lights. They join hands to create a circle.
We are gathered here tonight to invoke the spirit that is possessing this house to come and speak to us.
When they close their eyes, the seance begins.
Many paranormal experts believe that the goal of a seance is opening a door to another world and inviting someone or something to come through and communicate.
Everyone waits nervously for some kind of sign. When suddenly, according to Andrea Perron's memoir, they feel the table begin to shake. Carolyn pulls her hands away, breaking the circle. Then she raises her head. The oldest daughter, Andrea, says that whatever has taken hold of her mother's body is pure evil. But what she says happens next seems impossible. Carolyn's chair flies across the room, with Carolyn still seated in it. The impact is so forceful, everyone fears the mother of 5 young girls, Carolyn Perrin, is dead.
Carolyn.
Her husband, Roger, leans down to revive his unconscious wife.
Can you hear me?
Roger fears the worst. Carolyn's completely still and lifeless.
Get out of my house! Get out!
Furious that the Warrens have put his family at risk, Roger orders them to leave immediately.
She could still be dangerous. Get out now!
This could be a mistake.
I said get out of my house!
We have to think about how shocking and bewildering this all must be for Roger. He doesn't even believe in the paranormal. And these people have come into his home, conducted a seance, and now his wife is lying there crumpled on the ground. He must be so angry, and all he wants is for the Warrens to get out of his house.
Then, finally, she begins to move. Carolyn is alive, though he has no explanation for what just happened before his eyes. Roger knows that whatever tossed his wife across a room just moments earlier could have easily killed her.
Obviously, this entity could have killed Carolyn if it wanted to. But maybe that wasn't its goal. Maybe its goal was to show everyone how powerful it is, that evil truly exists.
You're okay.
Carolyn Perrin has no recollection of the frightening seance, but she seems less withdrawn than she has been in months. Still, for Carolyn, the haunting isn't over. For weeks after the seance, she remains crippled by the thought that angry ghosts are still living all around her. But then, she has an experience that changes her perspective forever. Daughter Andrea's memoir recounts that one day, while her mother is walking through the house,
It's beautiful, honey. Thank you so much.
she hears unfamiliar voices coming from her dining room.
Good harvest.
She creeps up slowly to see a family of strangers talking and having dinner.
All of our hard work is paid off.
Judging by the period clothing and artifacts in the room, Carolyn is certain she's seeing a vision from the past.
When some people think of ghosts, they think of two worlds. Our world and their world. The world that is alive and the world that is dead. But what happens if those two worlds coexisted? What happens if the only thing that separated us was our perception of the passage of time?
You're so lucky.
The vision fades, but now Carolyn Perrin has a new understanding of this historic house and its timeless residents. She lets go of her fears and reclaims her life. 10 years after it all began, the Perrin family finally moved out of the old Arnold house. But their experiences there left all of them transformed. Decades later, the oldest daughter, Andrea Perrin, wrote the collective memoir, House of Darkness, House of Light. This incredible story became the basis for The Conjuring, one of the most critically acclaimed and commercially successful horror films of all time. But what did the Perrin family really experience? Were the ghostly visions just figments of their imaginations? Or were they proof of something otherworldly we don't yet understand?
Get out!
We may never know the truth behind their tale.
Did the Perrin family experience a demon? Some of the experiences suggest that they were befriended or being watched over by a protective spirit. But were these dueling forces attracted to the place or to the people?
Dad, come quick, we have to see it!
And what about Bathsheba Sherman? She's been branded a child murderer, a witch, and a devil worshiper. But no historical documents exist to prove it. Her real story remains a mystery.
Facts get distorted over time, and a good investigator has to know the facts. In this case, the horrible legend is so old that the facts are not necessarily supported. So did it really happen?
Visions of angry spirits. A woman slowly losing her mind. and a house gripped by suicide, murder, and unholy terror.
Get out!
It's the incredible story that inspired The Conjuring, Behind the Screams.